So, last recording of the MC2MC Connect podcast episodes on the MC2MC Connect
event.
Yeah, it's mouthful, a lot of things happening. My name is Frans Oudendorp, together with
Michel van Vliet.
Yeah, again, co-hosting.
Still, yeah.
You have prepared all the questions, so I can definitely rely on you on that. yeah, definitely. But we have the last guest of today. Very interesting topics to cover, Esther.
Last but not least.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Saving the best for last.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what we always do. So I think it's not the first time that you are the last one.
That I'm the last one. No.
So Esther Barthel, welcome.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here and to have these nice conversations.
Yeah, nice. Esther, you're presenting on MC2MC Connect, but first, who is Esther and what are you doing normally when you're not attending conferences?
When I'm not attending conferences, I'm hiding at home, being so happy that COVID gave me the opportunity, even from an infra side of IT, to also do remote work. So, yeah, and sometimes I have to drive to a customer, which is like an adventure on its own.
Yeah.
No, but who am I? I've been in IT for, I usually say over 25 years, but maybe I should say longer. Focusing on end-user computing, got really interested in automated deployments and basically switched to more DevOps, platform engineer focus, having fun with PowerShell, Azure DevOps, GitHub Actions, just making sure that IT processes are automated and more efficiently used within organizations.
And you don't have an employer? You're working on as a freelancer?
I'm a freelancer, yes.
Luckily, I think we have all freelancers here on the table, so we can talk to each other on that as well. It's to be a freelancer and helping customers. What's the most important thing for you when you are driving technology and helping customers that way? What makes that for you the most important thing?
So for me, and I have the same with presenting, is the moment where you see at a customer where like there's a light bulb moment where you explain the technology and how it can benefit them and their use cases that they have. And you see like that light bulb moment and you see or you hear them ask like the more, do I understand correctly that I can use it in this way or that way? That for me is the cherry on top, so to speak. I'm not in the freelance business to get rich. I'm definitely there to service the customers and make sure that they understand how technology helps them. If it's linked to IT processes or business processes, it's to me the end goal is that I can leave within 2 weeks and know that it doesn't end the usage of what I built. Yep. That they can take it maybe even to a next level.
Yeah, they adopt the technology, that they can use it, and that you not need it anymore, but they can move it to the next step on that.
That's mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Talking about some technology, right?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about technology.
So let's dive into cloud PCs, because that's your
the thing,
right?
Yeah. Well, it became kind of my thing. Right. So I think with AVD, I found it hard, or Azure Virtual Desktop, the Microsoft first VDI solution, I found it a bit hard to get hired by customers to be part of their migration projects. So I was still, because my resume had a lot of Citrix on it, I was still asked to do Citrix refresh projects. But as a freelancer, individually to become part of a migration project to new technology, that sometimes is hard. That's where they still rely a lot on the big players in the world, so to speak. Yeah. But now with Windows 365, Cloud PC, you see that also the small-sized customers are getting really interested, and it becomes easier to be the consultant and to guide them into that technology phase.
Yeah, because you've seen a lot of shifts through the years. Because desktops, laptops in the end, remote desktops in between, VDIs, cloud PCs. What do you see as the future? Is it all cloud PCs, or will it be a mix, or some scenarios where cloud PCs are?
It will be a mix, but it also depends on how fast current operation teams can change their mindsets. One of the things that I'm very honest about is the first time I got introduced to Cloud PC, I felt like a dinosaur because I had to unlearn all the stuff that I learned over these last years if we're talking about end-user computing, where it's non-persistent, where I, as an admin, am in full control of the desktop and the configuration and the applications, and I determine when the environment is being updated. I'm making sure users have no ways to destroy that workplace and keep it as stable as it is. If we're talking about Cloud PC, it's all about taking that personal computer experience that users have at home, and thanks to COVID, also with a lot of laptops that were introduced in the workplace, to a virtual workplace. So now all of a sudden they want to have that personal experience, and they want to be able to have much more self-control over that virtual machine, which to me was like, oh my God, I'm losing my God mode here. So that and rethinking about how do you manage a personal machine without interrupting the usability for the user, that was a whole new concept. So that definitely needed a mind shift, or my mindset to be changed in that way.
Yeah. And well, you've got Azure Virtual Desktop, of course. That's one of the solutions, and you've got Windows 365.
Yes.
Can you tell us something more about the use cases for both? Are there different use cases that?
Yeah, so it kind of depends, and I know a lot of people look at it's a consultant answer. No, but a lot of people
we've heard it before.
I think it really depends on the use cases and the starting position for your customers. If they already have experience with end-user computing in the traditional way, or VDI in the traditional way, it's easiest to migrate to Azure Virtual Desktop, because that still gives them the feeling that they are in control, that they need to make sure that all their administrative processes can continue only on a different platform, and they still have to deal with customer or the end user in a similar manner. So then AVD makes a lot of sense. But if you don't have any experience, or maybe not even have skilled administrators or operators within your organization, then all of a sudden there's now an option to basically subscribe to desktop as a service, which means that all that infrastructure complexity is all hosted and managed by Microsoft, and now you can really focus on creating a workspace that allows your end user to be productive. And I think that basically is what we created the whole virtual desktop and remote working for.
Yeah. On the other hand, I know a few use cases, because I think it's more than a half a year ago that I worked for an airline in the Netherlands, where I had some stuff to do regarding workplace. And one of the use cases that came onto the table was published apps using in a modern workplace, and that's one of the use cases specific for AVD, because published apps, we don't have that at the moment in Windows 365. But on the other hand, if you are what you were saying, if you don't want to manage an infrastructure, then it's good to go to Windows 365.
Yes, it is.
On the other hand, if you want to deliver a desktop to a specific person or whatever, then it doesn't matter, or for AVD or Windows 365. It can be used on both technologies.
True, so, but what you're seeing right now, and that was a very smart play basically from Microsoft, is that during COVID, they introduced Intune as a central managed system for modern workplaces, allowing a lot of customers to quickly buy in, especially in the Netherlands, to use laptops to make sure that everyone could work from home. But still have that centralized cloud-based management system that allowed you to manage those laptops and all your settings, making sure that they had a secure environment to be productive still for the business. The smart play from Microsoft is that AVD still isn't perfectly managed or sometimes has challenges, especially with multi-user sessions, to be managed by Intune, even if you have a non-persistent pool, because Intune is specifically created to manage personal PCs or personal computers. Windows 365 brings that personal computer that used to be linked to physical devices to a virtual device. Basically allowing you to extend that same centralized managed system Intune to now also manage your virtual environment. So I think a lot of customers will first look at Windows 365 Cloud PC, and then if they have the expertise and have enough use cases like published applications, consider Azure Virtual Desktop.
And another thing to keep in mind is also cost perspective, because Windows 365 is a subscription based. You pay for every user. AVD, if you're using shared desktops, it could be other way around, a bit cheaper. But you need to manage.
That's the assumption. But if you look at the latest tests that Go EUC did. They actually showed that even if you have, I think, a similar SKU, so a similar powerful machine, then Windows 365 was cheaper than AVD.
Yeah, and it all depends on not only the resources that you need to use, licenses that you have, but also manageability. Windows 365 and Intune is probably somewhat easier to manage than GPOs and Intune on AVD as well. There are more aspects from managing a shared desktop, Windows 365, AVD, and so on.
Especially from a support perspective, to make sure that the end user has the best work space for them to be productive.
Definitely.
I agree.
Diving into your session today on MC2MC, that was called the Graph API Starter Kit for AVD and Windows 365 automation. To start with Graph API, for those who are unfamiliar with that, what is the Graph API?
Okay, so I will not do the full presentation, but to give you like a reference. One of the things that I used to do with end-user computing was to explain it like using Netflix. So you log on to a portal, you select whatever video you want to retrieve, and then basically when you're done, there's no evidence left on your system. But what I said is now I also need to introduce or talk about Plex, for instance, which allows you to have full control in building your own streaming services. If I'm looking at AVD and Windows 365, then basically AVD is hosted on Azure, which is all run by the Azure Resource Manager engine. Windows 365 is the subscription-based solution, which runs on Microsoft 365, which is run by the Graph engine. So that's where Graph comes into play, because even though we can probably manage all AVD settings on Azure Resource Manager, we still need that connection to our identities, which is Entra, which runs on Graph. So there is that connectivity there. So what I'm showing in my session or what I'm making very clear in my session is that you will need that Graph API also for AVD, but it's very limited to only your identity management or your role-based controls.
Yeah. So why should we use Graph instead of all the other management stuff that we have?
Because I think you always should be closest to the native engine and not have all these extra fluff stuff around it. But that's me being a huge fan of REST APIs.
Yeah, I know.
And not a huge fan of SDKs that are basically wrappers around that API.
True. Yeah.
But that's with all the knowledge that I currently have.
Yeah.
For me, it feels like with the REST API, using it directly, it gives me full control. With the SDK, I'm not always sure if there's a bug in it, when it will be fixed, or I'm having a challenge that they are doing error handling in a different manner than that I expected.
Yeah.
But for a beginner, an SDK is perfect because if you're doing all the native calls, you also have to do all the native error handling.
Yeah.
But Graph is the only way if you want to address Microsoft 365.
Yeah. And the Graph support for Windows 365, there are probably some limitations still, or is it fully supported?
The way I explained it right now is that Microsoft is very smart if we're talking about the Graph. There's a version 1.0 and there's a version beta.
Right.
All most of the features that you'll need also for Cloud PC is part of the beta, which gives Microsoft full flexibility to make weekly changes without having to inform you, to deprecate functions, to change resources, resource names, parameters, etc. So I just in my session had a question about how can I make sure that the information that is returned if I make a call to Graph, that it is consistent, that what I'm building today, and you use a lot of data processing with the results of your requests, how can I make sure that that data integrity is still in place? I said, well, then you definitely have to build that. Well, you have to build that in, because beta is just beta. There's not a beta v1, beta v2. Yeah, but that gives you some.
The difficult thing on this, and that's not only with AVD, but that's in general with with Graph.
Yes.
Most of the CMD-lets and all the kind of stuff is in the beta, and so we use the beta in production for every single piece of it.
Yeah, for years now.
We do that already. And that Microsoft still has the ability to change things because it's in beta. So you have the opportunity to do that. I think that's a downfall of the of a pitfall for the Graph API at the moment.
Yeah, it makes it very challenging to find adoption in businesses that have very large sets of business critical applications that are running on top of Graph. So if they have a dependency with Graph, then it becomes a challenge to promote an adoption of a beta functionality.
Yeah.
So I know usually customers ask that first question that they ask is this supported by Microsoft?
Yeah.
And now we have to say, well, the V1 version doesn't have all the features that you need. The beta is kind of supported, but not for production. No. So we're left in limbo.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree.
So is it mature enough, in your opinion, then to use it?
Well, there is no alternative. But and I think for a lot of functionality, it is mature. But that's if you focus on Entra, because Entra basically was the first owner of Graph. Yeah. So what you're seeing is, or at least what I've seen with adopting Graph as a provider within Bicep, for instance, to start supporting template-based deployments or template-based configurations of Graph, is that right now they can only support Entra IDs and groups, and even in a limited way, because the architecture of Graph is so different than the architecture of the Azure Resource Manager, which is the base for Bicep and templates philosophy within Microsoft Cloud. That already creates a distance. So you have to start scripting, and you have to basically already get the group that you want to adapt Graph to be outside of their comfort zone. Because even though we have the consoles, the management consoles, to configure Intune, to configure Entra, to configure Exchange online, still, if they want to have the full feature set, they have to adapt to making API calls.
Yeah.
And that's not their core competence.
No.
So now I find these people getting nervous about their future career paths and the competences that they need to have.
Yeah.
At some point, you will need to start to think in code or to adapt to a code-based management of your services.
Yeah. So what would your advice be to those people in IT?
To just come to my sessions, and then helps, you get super excited about making Graph API calls.
Yeah.
No, I think for us as consultants, there's a huge responsibility to show even people that are kind of nervous about scripting or coding and not have a visual confirmation, to really guide them step by step on how they can make their first API call. And that's one of the things that I focus on in the presentation, to just make it very low level, to explain to them, this is where I found my information, this is where I gathered all the input that I need to make my first call. These are the tools that allow me to have a visual confirmation of the calls. And then my final step basically is to start writing a script. And then I'm using it very template-based, where I say I always start with making sure that I address the right resource, that I select the right method that I need for my API call, and then set everything up. And then in the end, when all the information is in place, I make that call and then start processing the response that I get. But if you just show them with baby steps, and then at the end of the presentation, basically after an hour, they see that you can do a full self-service process, like making sure that with Windows 365, for instance, if you have a provisioning policy in place that provisions a cloud PC to a user, which is linked to a group, and you have a self-service process in place that when a user requests a cloud PC, it is automatically added to that group linked to the provisioning policy, then users can request their own cloud PC and then within an hour have it up and ready to go. Yeah. And I think that becomes very powerful, because right now I'm seeing a lot of customers where operations keeps checking either a ticket system or emails, say, oh, now we need to put this user in a group, and now we need to do this. Yeah. And that's, I think, a distraction, those repetitive tasks, from having fun in the work that you're doing, or really looking at how technology can help you.
Yeah. Yeah. And let's use the buzzword Copilot can help probably
Copilot
as well.
Can definitely help, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so, but I want to do some other way around. We are talking about a lot of technology.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah,
that's why we're nerding out now.
Right. And I think that's also good. But I was looking at the agenda of MC2MC today and yesterday at our Workplace Ninja Connect event. I think you were the only lady that was presenting on both conferences.
The only person that identifies as a woman. Sorry, just teasing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. But
let's not go.
I think there is an issue going on when we walk around on conferences like this, and it's not only MC2MC, not only Workplace Ninja. It's
for the entire, maybe even STEM, the entire, if we're talking about technology.
Yeah.
Then the first question usually is where is the diversity in this group?
Yeah.
If you're going to different conferences, I agree.
Yeah, but what can we do? And maybe a few of them are listening or viewing to this recording as well. What can we do to enlighten them, to help them, and to make them that they are passionate about technology like we are?
Yes. So I've tried throughout the last 10 years to be like an advocate for women in tech.
Yep.
Last couple of years, I've changed that to more diversity in tech, because I think the message should not be let's get as much women to join in the tech community and to be active, because you can do that even in non-technical roles. Yep. And then I think you would get not the end result that we're looking for. I think if you focus much more on diversity in the way it is meant to be, at least how I translate it, is that diversity is meant to let us all realize that we need to create an environment where every member of a team feels free to speak up and to share their ideas and their viewpoints and to learn from each other's viewpoints to build better solutions. And I think for us, at least for me, it's very much about technology is the binding factor of our conversations. Yep. Just as you go to a soccer club, that's because you all have a passion for either watching soccer games or playing soccer games. Yep. And that can also, I grew up and was part of a mixed team until I was 12, and then different conversations started and we were no longer allowed to basically shower with the guys. So, but from that perspective and that idea, I think if we want to make a change, usually the guys respond with, well, we have to start at junior high school or at an early age to get women interested or the girls interested in technology. Well, what we've seen with different programs like Coder Dojo, which I also participated with in the Netherlands, is that there are enough girls that are interested in technology and more STEM-related work fields. But I think right now the message is diluted because we're too much focused on the women aspect, which is kind of similar. Like, I have to admit that I also was interested in some lesbians who code group. It's not about non-technical, I was going to say markers or labels on a person. No. I know I'm part of an award program or multiple, and it shouldn't be about the fact, we finally got a woman in tech. And she's also a lesbian, so that's a second marketing checkbox. And now, since I had a fall with my bicycle, I'll probably also be on the less mobile checkbox as well. So, I'm collecting all these different labels to stay in these programs as a pet project. But
but from a side
it's sidetracks from the conversation where we are here to, especially at these events, to talk about this cool technology feature or this cool solution that I found to help our end user be more productive. Yep. And it should be about, I wrote this awesome script, or I found this really cool feature in the Azure portal. though that will be limited sessions. But
but
it
agree.
should be about, I'm excited about technology. Let me share that with you and have a conversation about that. Yeah. And it should not be about what's your gender.
No, I totally agree. And that this conversation we had a lot of times offline already.
True.
But if so many women, other people are interested in technology, as you're saying, from high school, how can we also from a community perspective, how can we engage them to make it more attractive for them to be part of it? Is there something that we can do?
So I thought for a long time that creating like special interest groups or just creating a women in tech mentorship program, for instance, that would be the solution. Because that creates like a safe space where women that are entering the work field can ask all their questions without getting really nervous that they might become the focus point for the men to cast them out, basically. Because it's all about becoming accepted in a group.
Yeah.
That's the process. And it's very hard sometimes to find that common demeanor or to fake interest in Formula One, for instance. No, I'm not doing that, people. But to have that Monday morning conversation. What I'm doing right now is not just doing that mentorship program, because one-on-one is going to take a long time to multiply, because I can do 1-on-4, for instance, but not 1-on-20 or 50. Yeah. So I'm basically approaching it now very recently in a similar manner as I'm doing with the presentations, is to give workshops to diversity programs or programs that allow people to be retrained or reschooled in an IT work field or an IT role, like a cloud engineer with an organization that I recently discovered in the Netherlands. And the only thing that I think I can do is show them how excited I am about the technology and give them very simple and clear examples of how it can work for me or what I need to focus on, and just hope that there are light bulb moments within the room. Yep. And at least what I'm getting back as feedback now, and I'm not sure if it was the Kahoot quiz or the 3D printed awards, is that they got really excited about the workshop. Yep. So that gives them a more natural interest from hey, I think this is interesting, and I can see myself doing this as well. That will be easier from an adoption perspective than trying to just create what I nowadays call like isolated groups, where you just start to bitch about not being accepted in the entire community. Yeah. And I had experiences with that in the past with the COC, the Dutch organization for gay and lesbian people within the Netherlands, where I always found it so strange that you would go to a gay bar and then start bitching about not being accepted
in the normal bar.
In the Dutch community. And I'm going like, yeah, but if you're going to step outside of the group to the side and not interact in a normal way with that group and show them that you have a common interest and that you can get excited about the same thing without all the other stuff that you might do in private, then all of a sudden there is a distance, and they will not understand who you are or where you're coming from. Yep. So you need to be in the group, and you need to just show, I think, the world that it can be fun.
It is fun.
But yeah, I don't have the magic formula right now.
No, but... So if we know someone, take them with you, make them part of the community.
Yeah, or at least offer some of your time to do a workshop and to share with people that do not have that same level of technology or interest yet, that it can be fun to do what you are doing on a daily basis.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we finish up this?
We're gonna close
this recording because
close off. Yeah.
I think we're still continuing. Every recording we try to do that between 20 and 30 minutes. We're already running in 35 minutes at the moment.
Of course,
with
you're
one
talking
guest.
with me.
Yeah, only with one guest. So we're doing an awesome job.
So let's we've got some generic questions.
Okay, awesome.
To close off. So
yeah, black or white.
For
those
you,
kind of questions.
No. It's
more or less.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. So if you could have dinner with any tech hero, breathing or non-breathing,
yeah,
who would it be and why?
Wow.
Breathing or not breathing? I can read the text and it's mentioning living or dead and he's saying breathing or not breathing.
Yeah. Well,
that's a funny thing.
No, but I did get the message.
Good.
I'm so terrible with names, and now I have to fess up. So with some of my heroes, I already had dinner, so that definitely was a very exciting moment, especially with the PowerShell conference that I went to.
No names to share?
No names to share.
Mike Rushinovic. He wasn't there.
No.
That might be one then.
Yeah, that might be one.
Or
no, but I have to admit that he is not the first name, or that was not the first name that popped up with me. No, I meant Jeffrey Snover.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one that I already had dinner with, and that was just an awesome moment.
PowerShell guru.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, he is the architect of PowerShell, so that was amazing. But he's
still breathing. So.
Yes, he's still breathing. So that, and like I said, I already checked off that box. No, but then it would probably be one of the founding women in tech. And then we're going to go with the names again. So I know during the first explorational phases with NASA, or even if we're looking at World War II with the Enigma project, there were some really smart, clever women, not maybe as visible, but that made some really exciting breakthrough technology discoveries or inventions, so to speak. Yeah, and I would love to have dinner with one of those.
Yeah. So I
awesome ladies.
Asking DeepSeek or
of course, DeepSeek. Yes.
I know. I asking Copilot who's the founding member of Women in IT, but I don't get a result.
No,
at the moment.
It's just thinking. Yeah.
So, Women in Technology with Carolyn Lighton, initially launched as the International Network of Women. But
wow.
Yeah, doesn't ring a bell.
No, I have to admit. My apologies if I really hurt someone's feelings now.
But many thanks, Esther, for
You're
joining us.
You're very welcome.
It was awesome to have you in this podcast episode. And
it's always fun with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. And probably we will meet up probably at another conference, but
maybe
that can be the MVP Summit where we
yes, I will be in person on the campus in Redmond.
In Seattle, Redmond, yeah.
But probably trying to be low profile and not super hyper, like, whoa, I'm here for my first time. It just look like the senior that goes like, oh, I've been here, done that.
It's for me the second time, so I will probably a bit hyped.
Yeah, that's okay.
You work on your poker face, right?
And probably September we'll back in
oh,
Baden.
Yes.
So you need to send out some proposals for sessions. And we will catch up. We will do an interview. I heard something that you are pre-approved. Pre-selected.
Well, as someone just said, who's also one of the co-hosts of this podcast, said, "Oh, I heard you are a featured speaker." Nobody ever called me featured speaker before. So now I feel like royalty.
Definitely.
You are, yeah.
So a lot of conferences coming up.
Yes. But those are definitely the two that I look forward the most.
Yeah, and we will catch up again.
To be really honest, the Workplace Ninja Summit is the best.
Definitely. So we will catch up there again, doing some recordings, getting some insights on Bicep probably together with Freek.
Of course.
Again. So thanks, Michel, for joining me on the last few recordings.
Yeah.
Luckily, I had you for all the questions. And thanks you for listening, viewing, or whatever you have done on all the MC2MC podcast episodes that we have recorded live here in Antwerp. Yeah. A city in Belgium where we are sitting down with all the guests. Thanks for listening, viewing. Review us, give a review so we can learn from that. A thumbs up, whatever, like, subscribe, so you know when the next video comes online. I say thank you for listening until somewhere else in the world. Thank you.